Welcome back to the Messy Friendship Lessons podcast. Woo! The title for today's episode is Why I No Longer Believe in Matching Energy in Friendships. Matching energy made me compromise my authenticity, and the payoff wasn't even worth it. It didn't fix the problem of not having a fulfilling friendship. All it did was put me in a seat of fear and guardedness when it came to my friendships. And so I no longer believe in matching energy. So here lies my thesis for today's episode. Matching energy does not solve loneliness and it doesn't fix the empty connections. I was there. I was pouring out, not getting back, feeling frustrated, feeling angry, questioning some of my friendships, and just wanting more. And so I tried it. I listened to the advice, match energy, and I thought it would protect me and solve the problem. And it didn't. I have found that real fulfillment comes from pouring intentionally. So pouring where I want to pour, pouring into others who are pouring into me, and pouring without expecting the same thing back. True connection is about giving with purpose and wisdom, not mirroring someone else's indifference. I'm choosing to show up authentically as myself in friendships and pouring intentionally. So that is my statement, my declaration, my argument for today's episode. I've laid the scene. Now let's get into it. So this topic of matching energy has been so prevalent for me this year because I've been on a journey with my friendships this year. I feel like this has been a side effect of doing the podcast. I think about friendship a lot. I think I've said it in previous episodes, but I think this podcast, making me meditate on friendship and how to be a better friend, has resulted in me showing up so much better in my friendships. And I love that. I feel like that's a huge plus. The downside is I don't feel like it is reciprocated in some close friendships. And it quickly led to burnout. I'd had enough. So this has been happening this year. And I guess the story starts at the beginning of the year. So it's not all my friendships. I'd really like to preface that. But I had a couple close friendships where this was the case. And it caused me a lot of grief and a lot of pain. So I want to take you on the journey because those friendships are actually what pushed me into matching energy this year, even though it's not a concept that I used to believe in. But through that, I've also learned that matching energy, it just ain't it. Now that I've fully tried it, I went over to the other side, I listened to the advice. It didn't help, but I figured out what helped. So it all starts at the beginning of this year. I was hit with stage one, which I like to call the pain of giving without receiving. I was in pain. In a couple of my close friendships, I was feeling the pain of giving without receiving. I felt that I was pouring so much into people who were not pouring the same back into me. I felt that I was considering reaching out, thinking of people who were not thinking of me. And I felt like I was doing all the legwork to sustain our friendship, the reaching out, the trying to make plans, the inviting them into my life, telling them what's going on, calling them, checking in on them, all of that. So I was pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring into these friendships until my cup was empty. And because they were not pouring back into me, I hit burnout. And I became very frustrated, very angry actually, with the state of these close friendships because it made no sense. The pain point for me was one, why aren't you showing up for me the way I'm showing up for you? And two, why aren't you there when I need you? I can't depend on you. You don't seem to care in the same way that I do. And because these were with close friendships, there's a history of caring there. So the behavior was out of the norm. It's hurtful. giving without receiving. Friendships aren't meant to be one-sided, and this friendship is feeling one-sided. And it wasn't feeling one-sided because they like did nothing. It wasn't like they were doing nothing, but they were not pouring nearly, not even close to the amount I was pouring. Is this a situation where I stop being their friend, or is this a situation where I need to lower my expectations or pull back and not pour as much of myself into them? And so I was sat with these feelings, feeling conflicted because on the one hand, I want to show up as myself. I want to love fully and I want to be the friend that I desire and that I want to have. But on the other hand, I'm burnt out and I don't know how much more I want to give to someone who isn't matching my energy, which is why the whole matching energy thing, it makes sense to me. I get how people arrive at that conclusion. Matching energy feels safe. It is a safety net to be able to say, look, this is dangerous territory. I feel vulnerable. I feel rejected. I feel taken advantage of. So I'm going to pull back and I'm going to match your energy. I'm going to protect myself, protect my peace so that I don't have to feel these feelings of frustration or rejection. I won't have to feel the pain if I protect myself and I mirror you. So what you do, I do. It makes perfect sense. I can see why it works in theory. Maybe everyone's been right. Hey, I'll admit when I've been wrong. I was like, maybe everyone's been right. Maybe matching energy is the way. Maybe it's the way to avoid how I'm feeling right now and the frustration and the pain of giving without receiving. So I sat down and I was doing my analysis. I was thinking about these close friendships. And I was like, look, I don't think this is a situation where this is a season of me giving more and them taking more. Because one, this is really imbalanced and it's been imbalanced for a while. I had a proper think about it. When was the last time I truly felt that this person was pouring into me? And when I sat down and properly thought about it, it was a while. The last time I felt that they properly poured into me was quite a while ago. So that was an indication for me that, okay, this isn't a season thing. There's currently an imbalance. And to me, the imbalance felt like 90-10, but maybe I'm dramatic. Maybe it was 70-30 or 80-20, but it was still too much for me for the period of time that it had been. I was done. And so I decided, screw it. I'm going to try matching energy. You want to give nothing? I can give nothing. If you want to be flaking on plans, I know how to flake on plans too. If you want to be airing messages asking you to hang out, I can air messages to hang out too, babe. I'm good. I can do that. So that was where I was at. I was like, I am going to match your energy like never before. Watch. Like, I'm going to pull back. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to give you anything. And I'm going to be on the same wavelength you are. I'm not going to inquire how you are. I'm not going to check in. If you don't want to check in, I won't check in either, babe. If you don't want to call, I won't call either, babe. If you don't want to respond to messages, I won't respond to messages either, babe. Even though I never did that. I couldn't do that. I respond to people's messages. I just think that's rude. They didn't get me matching energy to that extent. Truly, I'm laughing now, guys, but I genuinely was done. I was like, okay, cool. I'm matching your energy. I'm going to take all the advice and I'm going to match your energy. And so I was kind of hoping that this would make me feel better, that this will make this feeling of hurt and frustration and the longing for a deep connection with these close friends that I once had. I thought it would make all of that go away, and it didn't. The only thing that happened by matching energy is I lost the power to love selflessly. And I was still angry, frustrated, and irritated in those friendships. Nothing really changed. I ended up still having those close friendships not fulfilling me, and none of the feelings surrounding those close friendships actually went away. The only thing matching energy did for me was help me retain my energy. I wasn't drained, so it allowed me to conserve my energy and pour it into my other close friendships and my other friends. But I was still frustrated, and I was looking at like, what is the heart of all these feelings? Why am I frustrated? Why am I angry? Why am I hurt? Why do I feel rejected? And I was like, oh, it's because I'm longing and I desire a deep connection with these people. And I'm looking to maintain and grow and develop deep connections and deep and fulfilling and meaningful friendships. And so I sat back and I thought, okay, I've been matching energy for the past couple months. Has matching energy allowed me to develop these deep, fulfilling, meaningful friendships? Well, no, matching energy didn't make me feel closer to anyone. It didn't even make me feel closer to the friends that we were already friends with. I didn't feel closer to them by matching their energy. I think it put me in a mindset where I was keeping score with everyone, even the friends and close friends that I didn't feel not poured into by. I just became so guarded and I was like keeping score. I was like, okay, they did this for me, so then I will do this. And okay, this one did this for me, so I will do this. And she did this for me, so I will do this. And I wasn't showing up authentically as myself. I wasn't showing up and like treating my friends because I wanted to. I wasn't showing up and, loving on a friend or serving a friend, showing up authentically how I like to show up for my friends and be there for my friends and do sweet gestures or random acts of kindness or check in on them because I was too busy keeping score. It got to the point where I would go to message someone to check in on them and I'll be like, but when was the last time they checked in on me? And I'll put my phone down. Unless they checked in on me, then I wasn't going to check in on them or I was going to wait for them to message me before I message. Like, I started to keep score with everybody. And I found that moving into matching energy because of the frustration I felt in a couple close friendships meant that all my other friendships kind of suffered because I was keeping score. And I slowly but surely started to lose the power to love selflessly. And that is one of the amazing gifts that we have, the ability to love selflessly, to show up selflessly. That is what Christ calls me to do, to serve others. And I love friendship for that reason. I'm passionate about friendship and encouraging people to develop strong and healthy bonds for that reason. Because as friends, we serve each other, we look out for each other, we support each other, we give of ourselves to each other. And it's hard to give of yourself authentically if you've adopted this tit for tat mindset where you only give where you are given and everything is match and everything is keeping score. And I realized that I was sacrificing showing up authentically as who I am. I also think this approach oversimplifies the complexity of human connection. Human connection is so complex. It's not always just give and take this for that. Because in making bonds, for example, someone always has to make the first step. That is the thing with human connections. To grow closer, to make those bonds, someone's always got to take that first step. And imagine if all of us agree and take on the mindset of, oh, I'm matching energy. When you meet a new friend and you're both excited, would you be like, oh, I'm not going to invite them out because I want to match the energy and see what they're doing? And they're waiting for you to make a move. So they're like, oh, I'm matching her energy. And then, for example, when it comes to birthdays and gifts, you're like, I'll wait till my birthday to see if they bring a gift and then I'll match that energy when their birthday comes around again. And they're like, I'm waiting to see if she'll give me a gift this time. So when her birthday comes, I'll know whether to give her a gift. Like, imagine if we were all living like that. That's crazy. We would miss out on so many blessings. And then how do friendships develop and get deeper past that point if everyone's keeping score? Sometimes it requires someone to take the first step and be bold. But when you're matching energy, you will never take that first step and be bold. So, all in all, my experience in matching energy, the only plus, literally the only plus, was I wasn't pouring from an empty cup. But the friendships, the close friendships, still felt empty. So, it didn't work. I think matching energy is very superficially appealing. It deals with the symptom of what is happening, but it doesn't solve it at its root. And what needs to be solved? What is the problem at its root? It's the fact that you are not feeling fulfilled in X friendship. You are not feeling fulfilled, and you're not feeling fulfilled because the person you are in a friendship with is not pouring into you. You do not feel appreciated and you do not feel cared for and poured into. That is the problem. That problem is not going to go away by simply matching energy. Well, overextending myself and pouring it so much into these friendships that were not pouring into me just left me burnt out, drained, and done. That approach to friendship, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You can't just pour blindly, pour everywhere, and be okay. You will get burnt out, your cup will get empty, and you will not be able to pour from an empty cup, and you'll end up so frustrated and angry. But I was like, the second approach doesn't work either. Matching energy just made me defensive, guarded, keeping score, held me back from showing up authentically as myself and developing such deep, meaningful, fulfilling, and authentic friendships. Because if you're not showing up authentically as yourself, there's just no way to develop an authentic friendship. If you're so focused on keeping score, there's just no way you're going to have a deep, meaningful, fulfilling friendship. There's no way. There's no way. So I was like, okay, I need something that works. None of these work. They're both flawed. What will work? And so as I'm sitting down and thinking about this, I decided to write a list. Let me find the list. I made this list on the 7th of April, 2024 at 11:27, and the list is titled, Who Do I Feel Truly Supported and Loved By? So I made that list, and it's a short list. My strict rule with that list was it had to be in the last 6 months. So from the 7th of April, 2024, who did I feel truly supported and loved by in the last 6 months? And so I wrote down the list. Family obviously made that list, and then a couple friends. And I looked at everybody on that list and I said, okay, I am feeling empty. Matching energy has not solved that emptiness. What will is ensuring that these people on this list who love and support me are continuously pouring into me. And when I started to think about it, I was like, wow, they really have poured into me. Like, by asking myself that question of 6 months, I was looking at every single friendship and I was like, okay, in the last 6 months, do I feel like X has really poured into me? Do I feel supported and loved by them? And I was like, not really. But then I would come to a friend and I'd be like, no way, they did this and they did this and they did that. And like, wow, oh my gosh, they really have showed me so much love and supported me and poured into me these last 6 months. Gosh, I like wasn't paying attention to that because I was so hyper fixated on the friendships that weren't and matching energy that I was missing those who were pouring into me. So once I had that list solidified and I was like, these people definitely in the past 6 months. And why I said in the past 6 months is I think if I just wrote a list of who do I feel truly loved and supported by, every single friend would make that list, right? Because at some point, for you to be my friend, at some point, I must have felt loved and supported by you, or else I would never call you a friend. But I didn't want to do that because I know I would then be thinking, they supported me back in 2017, back in 2020 and 2021, they were really my rock. Like back in 2007, they were just such a good friend. Like, yeah, like reminiscing about the past and nothing that is actually current or present. And then I also, I've mentioned on podcast before, but I also asked myself, like, okay, in my close inner circle friendships, what do I love about our friendships? And I thought about what I loved, and I was like, I love this, I love that, I love this about our friendship. And I was like, okay, has any of those things existed in the past 6 months? And in few cases, very few cases, but there were cases where the answer was no. I was like, in those who I considered close friends and inner circle, the answer was no. I was like, none of those things have been present in the past 6 months. In the past year, yeah. In the past 6 months, no. I used all of that to solidify my list of people that I truly felt supported and loved by, that I truly felt poured into me in the past 6 months. And I looked at that list and I said, okay, I need to make sure that I am so incredibly intentional about pouring into these people, because these are the people that will make sure that my cup doesn't become empty, because I know they will always be pouring into me. So I need to do the same. I need to take all my energy back, and my first place to redirect it is to these people on this list. And so from the 7th of April, I started to be so intentional. Like, I was like making time for these people in my life, making time to help them. If they called on me for anything, I was there. If they needed support, a shoulder to cry on, someone to listen to, I was there. I was praying for these people. I was seeing how best I can help these people. I was showing up for them in the things that matter to them, events or whatever. I was like, I am going to give either my money, my time, my attention, my love, my energy, my friendship. I am going to pour of myself into these people because they are pouring back into me. And the beauty of taking that first step was those connections deepened. And when I say pouring into these people, I wasn't keeping score. I wasn't like exactly all the little things they did. I wasn't keeping score like before, where I was like matching energy. Because before I was like, I'll wait for you to do X and then I'll do X. I'll wait for you to message me and then I'll message you. I'll wait for you to call and check in before I call and check. Like everyone, I was like, every little thing was matching. In this, I made this list and I didn't think, what are these people doing for me right this second? Like waiting on them to do something. I was like, I made this list and then I was like, okay, I'm going to pour. And I just started to pour into these people intentionally. I've made this list of people I am going to intentionally pour into and conserve my energy for first because I knew that these are the people that will pour back into me. And true to form, they did. And my cup was no longer empty. I also, to fill my cup up, took some time away and spent time with God. That super mega helped me just spend time with my father. He fills up my cup first. He fills up my cup the most. And the beauty of making this list is my connection with each person on this list got so much deeper and so much stronger and just developed a lot more from what it was at the beginning of the year because I was intentionally pouring. Not matching energy with these people, I was intentionally pouring. Now, you could kind of say the intentionally pouring and the list is matching energy. It's not because I wasn't keeping score, but this is the second part to this. So, now that I've given my energy here first, I will have surplus energy for all my other friendships that are not within this list. And so with that, I decided I am going to pour where I want to. So instead of holding back myself and holding back my natural inclinations to show up and be better and holding back as the friend in which I was growing to be, I decided I'm going to pour where I want to. So if I want to show up in this grand way for this person, I will. And if I want to show up here, I will. And if I don't want to show up there, I won't. I'm going to pour where I want to. I'm not going to think about the other person. I'm just going to pour where I want to. Now, in order for the second part to work, this mindset needs to be applied. So I said to myself, I will not pour if I am expecting to receive this back. So I will not, an example of pouring, I will not take you out for a nice dinner if I'm expecting you to take me out for a nice dinner back. I will not check in on you constantly if I'm doing it with the expectation for you to check in on me constantly back. I will not pick up the phone and like call you, because that's pouring, call you and speak to you about how you're feeling and your problems if I am expecting you to do it back. I will not do that. I will not pour if I am expecting the same back. And that was key with the second part, because if I'm choosing to pour where I want to, I need to make sure that when I'm saying I want to pour, I genuinely want to pour. I have no ulterior motive. I have no desire or expectation that if I do this, you will do this for me. It's a pure desire to pour. And if I saw that I had just even an inkling of an expectation that said friend would match what I've done exactly, I just wouldn't do it. And by doing that, I was showing up authentically and also saving myself the disappointment and the pain that I had experienced before. And this was so much more fulfilling because I was showing up as myself in my friendships, but I was also not overextending myself because I was focusing on pouring into those who poured into me and then pouring where I want. I wasn't changing who I wasn't keeping score. And I found that those feelings, that desire, and longing for a deeper connection, a more fulfilling friendship with those people who I didn't feel were pouring in equally, it dissipated so quickly. And I was able to show up in those friendships more authentically because I wasn't focusing on what they were doing or what they weren't doing or what I felt like they should be doing. I was just experiencing them and experiencing our friendship organically. And I wasn't overextending myself in those friendships anymore because, first of all, my energy was first going to those who poured into me. And then in my experiencing them, I was just pouring from a place of genuine desire. And my friendships felt more fulfilled. I wasn't holding back the best versions of myself out of fear of there being a friendship imbalance. In newer friendships, things were progressing so much more beautifully than when we're matching energy and waiting for one person to make the first move, because I was just showing up authentically as myself. Another layer to this is, instead of matching energy with people, match values. Find people whose values mirror yours. Instead of mirroring someone else's indifference in friendship and being like, I'll be as indifferent as you are, and if you decide to care, I'll care. Instead, match values. Find people who have the same values in friendship as you do, and then match that. That creates a stronger foundation. That leads to more healthy, fulfilling, and deep friendship. Because if all of us are matching energy, if all of us are scared of overextending ourselves, if all of us are scared of looking silly for caring too much, if all of us are scared of being taken advantage of or feeling frustrated or lonely because we're pouring and no one's pouring into us, at that point, are we matching energy or are we just matching insecurities? Because it's giving that we are all just matching the fact that we're afraid to care more. And if everybody's afraid to care more, how do we develop these deeper connections? So instead of mirroring each other's indifference or mirroring each other's fears, I wanted to build something real. And so I've completely changed approach, and now I pour intentionally. I don't match energies. I don't overextend myself in friendships. I just pour intentionally now. And I pour intentionally without expecting to always receive it back. Now, why is the not always expecting to receive it back bit key? When I was thinking and when I was sad, I was reminded of the scripture that says, don't grow tired of doing good, right? What you put out, your Father in heaven will reward you for it. Don't get weary of doing good. And I was like, but I am weary. But I am weary. I'm weary, I'm tired, I'm drained. Like, I am weary of doing good. I'm over it. I'm overextending myself in these particular friendships at the time that were causing me a bit of pain. And then in thinking about this episode, I was then reminded that, hey, you reap what you sow. And that was one of our 24 friendship rules for 2024. And it was a beautiful reminder. Reaping what you sow is a biblical principle, it's a life principle, it's universal, it's literally how nature works. What you sow into the ground, look after, tend for, and care for, you will reap the fruits of that. You will reap the benefits. So when you invest intentionally, know that you should not tire of doing good, that what you're putting out there, you will get back. And I was really reflecting on that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that has been true for me in so many ways. They've been places and people in which I have sown into that I have reaped the rewards in other places. And also you hear those stories that people tell. The Diary of the CEO guy tells one like of one of his colleagues or like coworkers or something. Someone got hurt and they went around the city looking for band-aids and like running around to try and find band-aids for this person. And it was just an act that they did without really thinking much of it. But it was something that he noted and it like built and added to, I think, what he called their silent reputation. My point is, and it ended up benefiting her, that simple act that she probably didn't really deep ended up benefiting her so much and speaking for her in ways she could not imagine. My point is, when you sow into people, when you sow into places, you will reap, and it may not always be from the same person or the same place. And then I also started to think of the people who've sown into me that I wasn't necessarily matching their energy, but I greatly appreciated. One that came to mind is when I was much younger, okay, I wouldn't get my friends amazing gifts on their birthdays because I didn't have the pocket money to get everyone an amazing gift. Whereas a lot of my friends did get on my birthday every year. I got good and nice gifts, sometimes lavish gifts from my friends. And it wasn't like I was pouring into them in the same way. If they were doing the whole matching energy and keeping score, then I would have never gotten a gift on my birthday when I was younger. But I'm so glad they didn't do that because they poured into me and I greatly appreciated that. And I guess I poured into them in different ways that were so different from giving gifts. Like I was really big on making handmade cards and making a big deal out of my friends' birthdays. So my point being is you will reap what you sow and it won't always be from the same place, do not go wary of doing good. What you need to be careful of is not letting your cup empty and pouring from an empty cup. I think that's what you need to be careful of. And I think making that list was really helpful in making sure that I was pouring intentionally and my cup was not becoming empty. You will end up missing out on life by expecting all your relationships and your friendships to be that direct exchange. Let's use the gift giving for an example. With my friends who were giving me these gifts, those things were deepening our connection and we were forming deeper bonds. And a lot of those people I'm still friends with today. But imagine if they were all about, no, I only give where I receive and I'm going to match energy. It would have cost us. So I think matching energy isn't the way to go because we need to let go of this idea that people must give back exactly what we invest because we could actually end up with more abundance in our lives when we give intentionally, knowing that what we sow into others, we will reap in other places, and what we sow into others, we may reap from them in different ways. And so that is what led me to saying, look, I'm going to pour into others without expecting to receive it back, knowing simply by sowing, I will reap. And the way I can prevent the feeling of exhaustion and frustration is by making sure that I have those who are pouring into me and I'm investing my time into them. Now, the one thing I would say on this is if you think, okay, great, I agree with you. Like, I've tried the whole overextending myself, that didn't work. I've tried the whole matching energy, and you're right. I don't feel like myself. This is not natural. Okay, I want to take the steps you have, where first you have poured into those who poured into you, and then you've poured where you want, and then you've poured without expecting it back. But I've sat down to make a list, and my list has 0 people. There's no one pouring into me. Baby girl, that's so real. That is so extremely real. So many people feel that way, where they're like, there is 0. So the first thing I would say to you is make sure that you are pouring into yourself. Okay. When I'm feeling like completely depleted, I go away and I spend time with God and He pours into me first. So make sure you're pouring into yourself and you take some time with you and your energy and you pour into yourself before going out and pouring into people. And then if that list is 0, how exciting, because you can go out and find those friendships and people who pour into you. And what I would do in establishing new friendships is don't match energy, match values. So write down like a list of values that are so important to you in friendship. I know for me, trust is a huge one, honesty, generosity, someone who is loving and caring, someone who is non-judgmental, someone who doesn't talk bad about others and like find pleasure in like trash talking. That's really key to me. So make a list of what are your values in friendship? What are things that you're like, this is non-negotiable in friendship. This is my value. This is who I am. This is what I would want from a friend. And then go out into the world and match those values. You can meet people in a lot of different spaces. Look for spaces though that are dedicated to meeting new people. Look for spaces that are dedicated to joining communities. And that's where you can find new people and then sift through the people who have the same values as you. I'm definitely doing an episode before the year ends on how to make friends as an adult, because that has been a series and a journey I have been on the whole of 2024, because I really wanted to do the ground of field work. So I'm going to come back with my findings. If your list is 0, don't be downcast by that. Be like, great. I have myself. I can pour into myself. I can go to God to be poured into. Can start there. That can be my starting point, and then the friends can come along the way. Also, don't like disregard family. Like, I know not everyone has family that is safe for them to be around, but if you have family that's safe for you to be around and you're not that close, or maybe you don't invest a lot of time in your family, invest time in family, bro. Lean on those connections that naturally are already there, because they can be your biggest cheerleaders and support system. You're literally bonded by blood. But I know that that is not an option that's available to everyone. Try and make the effort to develop those relationships and work on those relationships, because family can be the easiest friends you'll make. Literally the easiest. So to finish us off, I think it's important to have healthy boundaries. The reason why I got to the point where I was burned out because I hadn't set up boundaries for myself when it came to giving in friendship. You can have healthy boundaries without sacrificing depth. When you match energy, you create a boundary, but you sacrifice depth. You sacrifice depth of connection by not showing up authentically. So I think to have healthy boundaries without sacrificing depth, you need to swap over to giving intentionally, pouring intentionally is what I like to call it. Pour intentionally into those who reciprocate, but still leave room to give freely where you feel to. So, the question that I want you to ponder on is: am I withholding kindness and connection out of fear? What if true strength lies in giving even when it's not returned, trusting that what we give will come back, though it may not be from the same source? Digest on that, think of that, come to your own conclusions. Think about what I've shared about my own journey. And if you're someone who's of the position of always matching energy, have you ever run into that issue of compromising your authenticity? Have you ever felt that by matching energy, it wasn't as easy to develop depth or truly fulfilling deep and meaningful bonds? Genuinely let me know. The final takeaway I have, and the position which I hold right now, from the journey I have been on in 2024, from never believing in matching energy to becoming burnt out to attempting to match energy and then realizing that overextending yourself doesn't work, matching energy doesn't work, instead, pouring intentionally does. I found that real connection isn't found in matching energy, but in intentional, secure giving, regardless of immediate returns. So I dare you to try it. What would it look like to pour from a place of faith rather than fear, trusting that what you sow will return, even if it's from somewhere unexpected? Are you brave enough to try it? I dare you. I dare you to try it and tell me how it turns out. I am dedicated to living a life where I serve others and I show up with love and I serve my friends, but it is so extremely important for friendships to work both ways and for your friends to serve you too. So make sure you have your little list of who pours into you. And if you don't, try and find those people who will pour into you. I love you so much. Make sure to follow, review, DM me what you think. Leave me a rating wherever you're listening. 5 stars preferably. God bless you. Love you. Bye.